Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend D.G. Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of The Devil You Know, the Daredevil Podcast. Episode 7 is already here. I am Phil. Joining me, as always, it is, well, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen herself, Lilith, and once again, very special guest, yes, Mr. Gregory Wright.
I feel so special.
Don't we all? That's right, episode 7 already. Stuff is happening. Now we're at the point where stuff is happening.
It's the penultimate episode.
The penultimate. Yeah. Oh, that's right. You're gonna drink a lot next week, Will. You don't take a drink when anyone says penultimate.
I'll have a Bloody Mary, maybe.
No. So yes, we're at.
Or should I say Typhoid Mary? Sorry.
I was waiting for you to say it. All right. So yeah, episode 7. We're all finally got the big Matt versus Muse battle. Kingpin is kingpinning. So, all right.
Art for art's sake.
Art for art's sake. Yes. I don't know. I thought they were going to do a twist and it was going to be, his little lackey in the mayor's office. But no, they were like, nope, straight up, the guy went to Heather for help. That's Muse. And I don't know.
There could still be more, but I think we're done.
I know, but just like with a lot of characters in this season, like he was here and gone, once we finally saw him as Muse, then he was like gone.
Little bow and out to the trash you go.
Well, it's like, yeah, now what? It's like,
Kingpin
Fisk hasn't really done anything yet for Daredevil to go and take him out. So I'm like, okay, so they got 2 episodes left. Now who's he going to go after? To go,
All right, I'm going to go colorblind. All right.
It's very,
some more mob things then.
Well, I guess he can go after I guess he goes after Vanessa next because he obviously knows that she sent that guy to kill him.
I thought it was her in on it.
Right, she sent him to kill him. I think he knows that she sent him.
Yeah, she told the guy. I mean, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he knows, but then what's going to happen? Is he? Because he was like, oh, ask her if she wants me to bring anything home or anything, basically saying, haha, you didn't kill me. So
yeah.
Is he I don't know. He's weird. Is he like hoping to reconcile with her somehow, or
I don't know where they're. I can't see it.
But then Daredevil saves Heather from Muse. So I was like, is Heather gonna know he's Daredevil, or
it was just a hallucination, babe? Don't worry about it.
See, even the cops are saying Daredevil wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, I was glad to see that they finally did something with his sense of touch. Where they showed him touching one of the more textured pieces and then with the shot of him touching what's her name,
Heather
touching her face and he was like, oh my god, because you're looking at it and part of he's like, how's he gonna know from a painting.
I know. I was
he took his gloves off. I mean, I know he kind of has to, but it's a crime scene, babe.
Let's not talk about that because with the gloves on, there's no way.
No, especially like a blood drawing. No.
But
the blood was bad though. I was like, it's too red. It's too thick. Like that's one of my pet peeves, I guess, about TV shows. I was like, obviously, we're not doing pig's blood and corn syrup anymore. It's fine. We're losing recipes.
What on the paintings?
No, on her blood when it was coming out of the arm.
Yeah, the blood looks a lot more real now. It's not like, Dawn of the Dead, really weird, that doesn't look right, blood,
I know, those of you worried that Disney Plus was going to water down Daredevil, yeah, I don't think you got to worry.
I mean, they watered down the shower scene, but,
Oh, well, I don't think they're ready to go full-on nudity on Disney Plus yet, though.
I know.
I mean, Netflix didn't even give us that in the Daredevil series, so.
I mean, they I think they got a little protest from the Jessica Jones stuff, though, probably.
Did they?
Yeah, those are some extreme mature situations she was getting herself into.
Well,
so
yeah.
They probably wanted to tone it down just a little bit.
Oh, going for coffee with Luke Cage, is that what we're talking about?
Coffee.
Yeah. So, and again, we see Kingpin eating at the end of the episode. I'm like, so are we ever going to find out, well, I guess probably by the end of the season, what he did with
that guy's
Vanessa's
dead
mother.
with an axe in his head.
Yeah, but we never see it. Is he going to confirm it? Basically be like, yeah.
I think that guy's still alive. I don't think he's done with him.
Oh, yeah, maybe he beat him. They'll Paul knock him back up so he can beat him again. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he's going to set Daredevil up for it.
They were doing with him. He's doing with him just, endlessly, because he was eating in an actual restaurant this time. He wasn't eating, in
his dungeon.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what he was eating tonight. The other night it was pasta and sausages. I don't know what he was eating.
It's always sausages. It's something in sausages always. I don't know how to feel about that.
It's either an omelet or sausages, yeah. So do you think, I mean, it's been coming anyway, but do you think maybe Vanessa's, the straw that broke the camel's back with her trying to have him killed was she found out that he has the lover locked up and, beating him, torturing him?
I don't know. I think it's a business thing. I think they... I think it's like, business is not booming with him playing mayor. Trying to take, it's like, oh, Daredevil doesn't really even exist. We'll just take credit for it. That was an interesting move that, seems sort of topical.
Yeah, I mean, Kingpin did warn him, don't pick up your vigilante activities again. But I'm like, would he sort of understand? Because it was Heather who was attacked. Because he could. Well, I guess he did save White Tiger's niece, but I was like, he pretty much sat around doing nothing until Heather got threatened. So, and Hector's niece. So, did they say 60? I think we discussed this before.
Yeah, they said
60 victims. I was like, yeah, it's not 16, it's 60. I was like, okay. Because when he's talking to the guy at the office, he's just, he's like, in these situations, you used to come to me for this. And the guy said he didn't want to enable him. And it's just like, well, 60.
Like, babes, it's a 60 people. That's a very prolific serial killer.
And you're going to trust.
That's mass murder at that point, I believe.
And you're going to trust New York cops in the Marvel universe to solve this thing? Okay.
That are hired by Kingpin?
Mm-hmm.
The dark, thin line? Oh, no. Nobody wants to hear that rhetoric from cops. No, thank you.
And I was trying to figure out.
It was nice to see this felt like an episode, a real Daredevil episode.
Yeah.
It was like the last episode, it really did feel that way. And, it's the usual thing that happens to him when he puts that suit on is his other life starts to unravel.
Mm.
So he's been kind of spoiled for a while. And
he said it doesn't feel real. He's definitely trying to blow his life up. That's just what Matt does. So this couldn't have come at a better time for him. He's been itching. Heather's like, no, we're going to work it out. He's like, oh, babes, that's not what I do. That's not who I am.
Well, I mean, I guess, he tried to explain he bumps into stuff because he's blind. But I'm like, during that
hard? With a cane? I don't think so.
Well, like you mentioned the shower scene. I'm like, didn't she notice? Because didn't we see like scars on his back and stuff? I'm like, what was the explanation
could have been
for
from
that?
his accident as a kid, or they're pretty deep and old looking,
She's got to suspect. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, now definitely, especially when she's like, "Oh, the Daredevil," like mentioned my name, called out my name, which I knew he was going to do. The minute he crashed through the window.
You got to shave now, buddy. I'm sorry, you have to shave now.
And maybe it's just the shadows, but I swear it looks like there's more hair on his face when he's Daredevil than when he's Matt.
It does look like that. I mean, I don't know if it's just because of the mask, but it does. It looks like he's got more beard.
That'd be funny if that was the disguise as Daredevil wearing a fake beard, but Matt has no hair on his face.
Just has a little stubble, yeah.
I can't be Daredevil. I'm blind, and I have no goatee. Come on.
Well, it's funny. I just watched Bird Box finally on streaming, which it is. You can't open your eyes, and have you seen it?
Oh yeah, forever ago.
Well, I don't want to give it away, but there was parts of it that were, you could relate it to Daredevil and Matt specifically. So that was just interesting when I watched that. I was like, oh.
I just want more Matt and Kingpin. Is that too much to ask for?
Well, I think the last 2 episodes of the season are going to be probably very Matt and Kingpin heavy.
If they hurt BB, I think I might have to like scream a little bit. But I like the kid getting some balls finally, like not being so stupid.
Is he learning the lessons? I guess.
Yeah.
I thought Kingpin was going to lose it in this episode, so as well, but he didn't.
And I was trying to figure out if that was it Buckeye? It was anybody we knew from the comics or anything?
I don't recognize him. I mean, he just suddenly showed up.
I'm like thinking, I'm just like Born Again. I'm like, you're not gonna make him like Nuke. Although I think Netflix did a version of Nuke in like one of the shows. But I'm like, is he gonna be somebody or just he's an assassin guy?
Yeah, they did it. Nuke was in.
Mm-hmm.
What show was it?
It
wasn't like the same.
No. Was it Jessica Jones? Maybe.
Could have been, because it wasn't like
it wasn't
the Electra Assassin series showed up in. I think it was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but not as the cyborg version. Yeah. Which I thought that was too bad. I was like, because I always liked that character. And Dan picked him up and used him when he brought Elektra into his run on Daredevil, which I thought was very, very cool, because I always thought that was a fun character.
Yeah, I was waiting for Kingpin when he said "Thank you, Buck." I was scared. I was almost waiting for him to say, "No, call me Bushwhacker."
I love
that's Matt's nickname. Thank you very much.
I love Bushwhacker.
He can be fun in the right hands. Yes, he can be fun.
Yeah, because Innocenti created him with Rick Leonardi, and I used him way too often whenever I got to write Daredevil, and I had him in Deathlock, and I put that guy everywhere. I don't know what it was about this guy that just fascinated me.
Just like grow the guns out of his hands.
Well, but he was also, like preaching, this weird churchy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a very interesting, Innocenti created some very interesting, complex characters.
Oh yeah.
And I always liked Bushwhacker, but everybody kept drawing him wrong. I'm like, no, he can't it's not metal. It looks like a fleshy gun. It's weird. I don't know how it works. Because people are like, well, we can make him make any gun he wants. I'm like, I don't think it works quite like that. Or was he a mutant? I don't know. But I would have loved to have seen him show up in this. That would have been fun. Or any more. I'd like to see more of Ann's characters showing up. I mean, didn't Typhoid Mary show up in one of the other seasons of Daredevil?
No, it was Iron Fist, which I don't know why they did that there.
They were really trying for Iron Fist.
I don't know. Well, no, the guy that played Iron Fist was like, give me another chance.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, he was crying.
Dude, you were terrible. I mean, that was the whole
train this time.
I mean, you were fine in. I guess he was in Game of Thrones. He was good in, but this did not work for you.
I mean, they didn't give him the best story though either. So
no, but he just wasn't the character.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, again, that guy could be Bushwhacker. They did thank Ann in the credits. I did actually read all the
yeah. Ann was in the credits.
Yeah,
I don't remember if Rick Leonardi was in there.
I don't think here. I actually took a picture of it. Let me see. We got Brian Michael Bendis, Bob Brown, Marco Cicchetto, Gene Colan, Ron Garney, Manuel Gutierrez, Klaus Janson. I cut that off. Is it Landy, Alex Maleev, David Mazzucchelli, Roger McKenzie, Frank Miller, Ann Nocenti, Jimmy Palmiotti, Paulo Rivera, John Romita. Oh yeah, we got both John Romitas, junior and senior. So Charles Soule, Mark Wade, Marv Wolfman, Wallace Wood, and Chip Zdarsky. I was like, where the F was Dan Chichester and Greg Wright? I'm like, come on.
Well, I understand not being in there, but I really do.
Dan was on the book for like 5 years. Where was he?
Yeah. If they're not using anything that you did,
yeah. Although, did you see? I guess they someone was online. When he went up to his closet up on the roof, and he had all the different suits. He had like different colored helmets, and everyone was trying to like line him up with each suit because I guess we're getting like that black suit next season and stuff. And then there was like a silver helmet, and everyone's like, "What suit is that?" And people were speculating, "Well, maybe that's the Black Armor suit."
That would be cool to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't give Dan a credit, or they won't send them any money or anything.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
it's just different enough. It's really not the Black Armor.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, they might thank him, but yeah, I don't think anyone's getting money in those shout outs, right?
No. Well, I don't really know. The contract that I signed whenever I created a new character, was
always work for hire, right?
If they used my character somewhere, I got a little bit of money, but not if like they guest starred in a comic, but if they decided they were going to do a comic that featured that character, I would. If we did I got some money from a couple posters and those little cards. But I got Dwayne McDuffie and I got a special thanks credit in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, nice.
When they did their version of Deathlock, which was essentially our version of Deathlock, but they didn't give him Michael Collins as a name. They gave him something else as a name, so they didn't have to pay us anything. The only thing that checked that was very specifically mine, the company Cybertech. But we got, it was cool to get a special thanks, but we didn't see any.
Do they let you know, or does like your mom or like your significant other just like, hey, did you see the credits? Because I heard they're kind of notoriously bad about it.
Tell you, it costs them nothing to just let you know, unless they don't want to do that because they think that'll make you say, hey, where's my money? But I know what my contract said on everything I did, and they own everything. They can do whatever they want with it. But I don't know. Who created Muse? I'm assuming they might have got a little something for that.
I wasn't sure if they even did that. Yeah.
But it's cool to get the special thanks. But it'd be nice to get some money, and it'd be nice to be told, hey, by the way, we used your stuff.
Yeah.
Because they can take a story that you wrote and they can just use it. That's just part of the work for hire deal. And if you don't like it, then don't write for a major comic book company that actually pays you much more money than you're going to do independently. That's been a point of contention out there. A lot of people are complaining, but they exploit everybody. Well, but you sign up for that.
Welcome to capitalism, my friend.
I knew exactly what I was doing when I did all the work I did, and I would love it if I was getting big royalty checks now from stuff I created, but nothing I created, had those kind of legs.
Just wait. They're really digging deep into the archives lately, so just wait.
I don't know what it'd be nice if they pulled some stuff up, but most of my stuff was really nasty, so I don't know. I don't think we'll be seeing Priapus. I really don't. Although that would be the funniest thing ever. We decided to do.
Oh yeah, Penis Demon Trenches. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Oh yeah.
Relatable content for me.
We have all these characters.
We'd have to get all you boys back together to review that if that ever happened.
That would just be the funniest thing ever.
Oh, that's the funniest story is like when Dan, when he did his 2 issues on in Daredevil and Surgeon General, they told him to like pull it back a little. I don't know if it was like too bloody or something. He's like, meanwhile, over at the Spider-Man office, Carnage is just like leaving bodies in the street that year.
Right.
So me and Lilith always,
beef was born.
Yeah, so me and Lilith always joke he hates Carnage.
Who says that?
Oh no, me and Lil say and we joke that Dan hates Carnage just because it's like they told Dan to pull back. Meanwhile, Carnage, I think that was the year Maximum Carnage was out, and Carnage is like murdering people every page for like 18 issues.
Well, the thing was at this time, readers were really liking these far more violent characters and stuff. And when Mark Gruenwald decided to retire Steve Rogers at that one point. It was due to everybody wanting to, they were very into the Punisher. Mm-hmm. So he thought, well, what if I put like a Punisher guy into the Captain America suit? And he really believed that people were not going to be happy and they wouldn't respond. And it was the opposite effect. So he kept, the John Walker character.
U.S. agent was born, yes.
Around a lot longer than initially intended. And, thing was, Mark had a really great time writing this other version of Captain America. And I just think it's funny because, Mark was not a guy that seemed to like that sort of stuff. Although he did create Scourge, who ran around killing everybody. But that was his solution to sort of clean up some of the continuity and get rid of some characters they didn't want around Marvel. Well, I'll just create this guy that'll just kill everybody I don't like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's book, there's one getting killed here, one getting killed here. Then there's that one issue, Captain America, where like 18 of them get gunned down at once.
Yep. Well, that's what we kind of do. Sometimes we just say, you know what? I don't like this character. I'm going to just write a story and kill him just because I feel like it.
Yes, because it's comics, because no one ever comes back.
Well, yeah, that's the
Uncle Ben would like to have a word with you, sir.
It is. It's that's one of those things. It's like, because Miller didn't want Elektra coming back.
Yeah.
And he kind of had a gentleman's agreement with editor Ralph Macchio, and Miller started opening his big mouth against Marvel and whatnot. And they finally said, you know what, we're going to unleash Elektra again. And I wish they hadn't. I think Dan did a really great job with her.
Mm-hmm.
But, I had to write her in an annual, and I hated doing that. I thought it was terrible. People were like, I really like this annual. I'm like, really? This is the one you like? And plus I had to use Shang-Chi, and I was like, I have no idea what to do with Shang-Chi.
Oh.
So it was the annual I wrote where I really didn't know what to do with any of these characters. Yeah, it's little goofy things that happen, but people seem to like it. I guess I did a decent enough job with it. Sometimes you get an assignment, and that's what you do.
So that was the mandate. It was like, oh yeah, you see Shang-Chi in here, and get
sometimes when you do annuals, they frequently were planned as a crossover event, or you're this time where you have to create a new character here, or we're going to be bringing back another character. And that was the last annual that I did, and I was told, okay, we want you to use bring him in because they were thinking they wanted to make him an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So this story was supposed to set that up, and you're going to bring in. We want you to use Elektra because she's been in the book. And I thought, I said, okay, I'm going to use Dan's Snake Root guys. And then I brought the I guess it was an old Shang-Chi villain that I brought back. And that was actually the most interesting thing to bring that back, because I could bring it back using Dan's Snake Root. So it was flowing with what Dan was doing in the book. But I still had to leave everything, where Dan could just pick it up, because it wasn't my character to play with.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a strange.
Yeah, I was thinking that's always like a fun time, because you did that too with Dan. Like you do a fill-in issue or something, or like a fill-in arc, and it's just
I did a fill-in arc. I had a lot more freedom with that.
Yeah.
Because I knew what he was going to do with the Kingpin, so I set stuff up for him to use. But then that's when they transferred the book over to Bobby Chase's office, where they were creating this other line of darker versions, and Daredevil was part of that, and Dan was going to be taken off the book. So he had me do a fill-in arc, while he was doing Elektra Root of Evil, and then I came. By the time my arc was done, he got sort of screwed.
We've talked about that.
Became that other author.
Oh yeah.
But I thought he wrote good stories still, but he was definitely like taking pot shots. But that was just very aggravating that that happened to him.
We've talked about that. Yeah, he said they gave him like no notice before that, that he was off the book.
Well, he had several issues, but then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It was like when he got taken off his shield for no apparent reason. No idea what happened. I put him on Shield. He was doing great stuff with Geist, and then a guy named Ernie Steiner came in and did work with him, and then I think MC Wyman might have came in a little bit, and then all of a sudden he was off the book, and they gave it to Scott Lobdell, and then that didn't work out, so they gave it to Elliot Brown, and then that didn't work out, and they had Scott Lobdell finish off his arc, and then they finally gave it back to me, and I had a whole year planned out, and I got 6 months before they canceled the book. but I don't think I used Bushwhacker.
Oh man, the one
I
place
might have avoided using Bushwhacker and Shield. I don't remember. I thought I did consider maybe making him an agent of Shield. I thought, well, Fury might use him.
Are those like your favorite stories that maybe to tell, or like the almost like the spy stories? Because again, between Shield, Silver Sable,
yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, Nick Fury is he's my all-time favorite character. Original Nick Fury. And because I remember, when I got the Steranko issues, and I was like, what is all this? Because I always like, much like Dan, I love James Bond. Yeah. And this was just the coolest stuff, and I love all the gizmos, and again, he's like a regular dude that can just do all this stuff, and then he's got the helicarrier, and yeah, I mean, Silver Sable was a very similar thing, except for she was a mercenary, and you weren't quite sure. Again, much like Fury, you're not quite sure if she's on our side or not. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff I wrote, and that's one of the things I really liked about Daredevil is he's basically a regular guy. Who has heightened senses, but he can
still bleeds.
Yeah, he bleeds.
Still hurts.
He could be killed. Silver Sable could be killed. Nick Fury could be killed. Morbius, not so much. Deathlock, not so much. She-Hulk, not so much. Never wrote a Superman story. I don't think I have any Superman stories in me.
What about a Batman story?
Yeah, what about a Batman, the guy with no powers?
Actually, Dan and I had
being rich is his superpower.
Batman story that we were going to do for Archie Goodwin, and it we never kind of figured out how to make it as good as it needed to be because we were working with Archie. But we did work on a Batman story. I would love to do.
Remember who the villain
Batman
was?
Arc, but I miss when he was actually a detective.
Yes.
Yes.
And was solving, actually using his wits and solving mysteries, and it wasn't just all the technical stuff and just beating the living crap out of everybody. You can do that while you're solving a mystery, but I always liked this whole idea of the Dark Knight detective.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of what you're seeing, Matt doing now as Daredevil. Going in and checking out Muse and stuff. He's trying to figure out what's going on. It's like he had said, hey, I found Muse, in an hour. But that's
to be fair, he did have help. The Angela did give him kind of something to go off of, whereas the cops didn't have anything. To be fair,
right? But I kind of like those kind of stories where I like to see the character using their wits.
Yes.
Like Superman didn't really have to use his wits. Green Arrow was another one. I just loved Green Arrow.
Oh,
I mean, forget the silly, bow and arrow things, like the boxing glove arrow, ridiculous stuff like that. I just, again, ordinary guy, and he was like one of the first DC ones that actually had a real personality, because he was all, street vengeance guy and, unfairness to the small guy and just spewing opinions left and right. It was very different from most of the other characters. They weren't preaching like that. I mean, yeah, it was maybe a little much, but somehow with Neil Adams' artwork on that character, for me it really worked because Neil Adams was the first comic book artist I noticed his stuff. So when I started working at Marvel, that's the sort of art I gravitated to at the time. And I was like, Jack Kirby, oh no. And it wasn't until I actually worked on a project where they had me color a Silver Surfer origin of Galactus story or some big classic thing. When I colored it, I suddenly got Kirby, and I went, "Oh man, is he a great storyteller? Wow, these images are really powerful. They're you don't need dialogue; it's everything you need. It's just his actual drawing style with these sort of ugly faces and the blocky fingers." Was something I didn't like, because I had like this more realistic looking Neil Adams stuff. And then, once I got it, I was like, oh man. And then I found out there's a lot of people, who were like Neil Adams fans and came into comics at that time, they didn't understand the whole appeal of Jack Kirby or see the genius of it, because you were too busy looking at the glossiness of Neil Adams and Gene Colan, and John Buscema was another guy whose work I really liked, and Walt Simonson, and Chaykin. So these are, I was kind of looking at that stuff, and now I go, wow, how did I not get Kirby at the time? But I didn't.
Sometimes it's just wherever it is, you might not get them, and then years later, it's just like, I mean, there's certain stories I know I didn't get as a kid, and now I'm just like, okay, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's fun to read stuff that you have as a kid and read it again, and some of it's like, oh, this was terrible, and some of it's like, wow, this is so much better than I remember.
Or you didn't get the point of it. Now all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I went to the Norman Rockwell Museum up in kind of up near Poughkeepsie, I guess. Up near Woodstock, and they had a Mad Magazine art show up there, and it was all the original, like the original Mad Magazine stuff. A lot of the old Wallace Wood artwork and stuff. And when you see that artwork, and it's on the large scale pages, like the twice up, and you just see the work that went into all of those EC comics and stuff. You're just like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this stuff was so great. It just was kind of blowing my mind. But it made me think about, getting artwork in my hands when we were at Marvel, and you'd get to see John Romita Jr.'s pencils on Daredevil coming in, and I'd gotten there when David Mazzucchelli and Frank Miller were doing their Daredevil run, and, those David Mazzucchelli pages, there they were. I could hold them in my hand and see them. And I did appreciate it at the time, but now I'm like, oh, why did I not take Xeroxes of all this stuff? I had no Xeroxes of any of this amazing stuff that, we were always making Xeroxes. Easy enough to run one off. Nobody would have minded. But I guess I want to think of all the artwork that I touched.
So, all right, we got 2 episodes left. Do we think Punisher's going to make one more appearance?
No.
Karen going to make an appearance, or are we saving everyone for season 2? Although there's
Karen will. They've sort of set it up so you'd think Frank might show up again.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really figure out where they're going to go, because they didn't have his little police squad of all of the worst bad apples do anything.
Except for take credit for something that they didn't do.
Oh, but they didn't really take the credit. Fisk took the credit for them. So I felt like they have to do something terrible to get the attention of Frank Castle to come in, and they didn't. So I'm guessing if Frank Castle's coming in, probably the last episode, if he's coming in. I don't think we'll see Karen. I don't think they'll bring up Foggy again. It's just going to, but it's like, how are you going to have a satisfying conclusion? I'm trying, where's it going to get a satisfying conclusion?
Yeah.
Heather survived, so I was happy with that.
They're not going to kill Fisk. Maybe he'll kill Vanessa, or maybe he'll try to kill Vanessa, and Daredevil will save her. It's just, I don't know where I really don't quite know where.
Muse wasn't a very interesting villain for me.
They really didn't give him a lot of time, by the time we got to him, and then,
Right.
They spent more time on the artwork.
Let's find some more stuff out. Nope. He's like, as soon as he sliced into her, I'm like, oh, you're going to be gone after this episode. They're not going to keep you around. I did like that she's the one that shot him.
Yeah.
I was like, the ladies love their guns in this show. I'm here for it.
At first, I thought maybe the cop showed up, but I was like, oh, yeah, it was her.
Yeah.
Yep. Empty the clip. Good job. Good job.
Well, but then it's like, okay, so what's the impact of that, after?
Well, she's
talk about a traumatic incident.
Oh, yeah, she seemed very upset with Bob from it in the hospital, and he's like, you didn't have a choice, I know you. But I did look it up. All right, Buck is an Ann I'm assuming this is the same guy because his first name is Buck. Is an Ann character, but it's not Bushwhacker. It's Bullet.
Oh, kind of makes sense.
Bullet.
The big guy usually dresses in black.
Well, it's too bad they didn't make a guy. Well, how you can't have a guy that's like, John Romita Jr. would draw these enormous versions of character. They would not. Well, no, that's not true. They could have got that guy that's in Reacher and had him be.
Oh yeah.
That guy's enormous.
Yeah.
I watched. If you watched the last episode of Reacher, it's like when they finally have a fight scene, I'm just like, man, that looks painful to when they shot it, because they really are going at it. But wow, what a great villain he makes. But yeah, he could have played Bullet.
Yeah.
He's kind of big enough. Not
well. I mean, if you go by John's art, I mean, D'Onofrio's nowhere near the size of his Kingpin.
No. But he pulls off Kingpin.
Oh yeah.
Really well. But he's gaining some more weight back. So. But you'll never get that. Well, even the way.
He's gaining weight back. He's eating every 2 seconds. He's torturing the guy. He's eating. He's plotting.
He's eating his feelings, guys. He really needed Heather to talk to. He needed some one-on-one time with Heather.
That's true. I don't think Heather's. Will we see any more marriage counseling sessions? I don't know.
It's like, well, she tried to kill me, so.
I mean, Kingpin seemed to have some kind of reaction, like when he heard it was Heather who got attacked. So I was like,
maybe he thought it had to do with him, like somehow, because maybe Muse found out that was his therapist, or he definitely knows that Heather's Matt's girlfriend or something.
Yeah, I thought it was either he was just like, oh, okay, they're that sinks, any reconciliation with me and Vanessa now, or yeah, maybe he was just like, oh crap, he went after Daredevil's girlfriend. Now I'm gonna have to deal with him again.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know why was Muse there? Why did he go after her? I mean, because he was in therapy with her. You know what I mean? Is this all coincidental? Did you go to her for therapy?
He sought her out for sure.
You were trying to spy on the king, because you knew the Kingpin was going, or.
I mean, yeah, unless they reveal that, because all we saw was him saying, oh, I need help. And then he comes in and didn't he say something like to Heather, oh, you understand me? But then he's like ready to drain her blood.
Yeah, you understand me, so I'm going to kill you and drain your blood.
Although I must protest the portrayal of Taekwondo people. Because
I knew you were going to bring this up.
I did take several years of Taekwondo as a teenager, yes. So.
At his own volition.
A fairly non-violent thing, isn't it? More of a spiritual thing?
I don't know about that, but it's all. I mean, there's no weapons involved. It's all hands and feet. So, my parents made me take it.
I wonder what the point of that specifically was, though. Taekwondo. That's like so random.
Oh, because they wanted to explain how he could fight against Daredevil and not just get his ass.
Well, yeah, but like that's just such a random type of martial arts too. Like I would have been like, he's into mixed martial arts, like something.
Well, it sounds good, I mean, a lot of times when we would have to figure stuff out, we would decide, well, this character knows this, but we didn't necessarily know anything about it.
I'm with Kingpin. I prefer boxing.
And it seems like Muse must have came from money, because they hired
an
a guy
estate
to personally train him, and
they covered up a murder. Yeah.
Because he killed the guy at 6. Well, he was like 16 or something. So
in and out of mental institutions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Taekwondo is just like Greg said. Just to give you a reason why this guy could hold his own against Daredevil for more than 2 seconds.
We used to do that all the time. We just make stuff up and then have to figure it out later. It's like, oh, the thing is, you would say, okay, this guy knows kung fu, and I would say, okay, I would send a whole bunch of kung fu references. Said, if I say it's kung fu, you have to draw actual kung fu. Yeah, and because when I did Shang-Chi, I went and I researched and I got the pictures, and Chris Rankowitz, who drew it, did a pretty good job, but I'm not sure that he understood kung fu, or maybe I didn't understand kung fu very well. I mean, I used to watch the TV show, but that doesn't necessarily make me an expert.
I would have thought they would have went with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga, something like that. That's like hand-to-hand, effective street-level grappling things.
Yeah, like that would have been a wiser, but I don't, it's like, well, my parents made me take it. Okay, so, are your parents really going to make you take mixed martial arts? Probably not.
Well, some people. Gotta remember, I live in Florida, so some people.
I mean, or unless maybe somebody in the writer's room or a stunt coordinator, or somebody was just familiar with Taekwondo, so they use that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I thought that this went too fast.
It did offer at least the explanation of how he could hold his own against Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's also an old man compared to he's getting a little slow in his old age there.
Yeah, us old men can still kick some butt, let me tell you.
Oh, no, absolutely. The bruises are getting a little deeper. It's getting a little harder to get out of bed.
Did you read Dark Knight? He was an old dude. And he almost kicked Superman's ass.
Yeah. And again, too, he hasn't been Daredevil for like a year.
He's rusty.
Again, you hope he'll knock out a bank robber, but he really hasn't done the Daredevil thing in a year.
Or has he been doing it secretly?
No, he seemed pretty conflicted last episode. Where it's like, oh, do I put the suit back on or not? Again, unless he's just been going out without the suit, but
maybe he's been sleepwalking, and that's what leads us into the Shadowlands, Phil.
Oh, good lord!
Something mystical taking over.
Yeah, why is he throwing on that dark suit? Oh God, is Heather gonna die or something, or something's gonna happen?
I think she's gonna leave him. I think she's gonna know that he's Daredevil, the trouble that causes, and she's just gonna be smart and leave before she gets fridged.
Why did he suddenly put DD on it?
Branding.
Yeah, I know, but they just don't seem to do that. Now that
Yeah.
Of course, he has a DD. He's Daredevil. Well, why do you need that? I I understand why you might put a black suit on, then people won't see you coming. It was sort of like when I asked for the Silver Sable's Wild Packs costumes to get away from that stupid purple and yellow or purple and orange. And I had sent in a nice stealthy sort of black and gray thing, and they came out bright blue,
blue and red or something.
Like that was not the story per point, but they do look better. But Marvel was like, well, we want something more colorful.
And Lilith, like we were always talking about. We finally see Matt. Oh, how do I deal with my personal issues? Let's have sex and get it out of my system.
Sometimes you just got to release those endorphins.
He was just minding his own business in the shower.
Yeah, she interrupted him.
That's right.
She wasn't asked to come into the shower, so.
Yeah, I wish these episodes were longer.
It's like you see these bruises, like, oh yeah, really? He bumped into stuff. I don't think so.
Well, she was kind of calling him out on it, but it's just like, and again, I guess unlike any other superhero, there's more of a leap to take because supposedly he is a blind guy, so it's like, could he be Daredevil?
Maybe he's in a fight club. We don't know.
Dude, should be Superhero Fight Club. There's a show I want to watch.
Well, boy, do I have a show for you for the 2010s. It's a whole Arrowverse, actually.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I just wish it was longer. Also, I felt like the lighting was a little off, and I wish that New York was a little bit more prominent in this episode, I guess.
Well, it's because when it feels like a Daredevil episode, you want to see that. Again, it's like we want to see him hopping around on the...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, taking in his neighborhood and,
Yeah, so, because, he needs to have that view again.
Stop being so hard on yourself. It happens.
That's
what editors are supposed to be for.
Here it is. Look at that. Look what I did. Andrew Paquette drew that. Really amazing artist named Andrew Paquette drew that.
Yeah, because again, it was a great episode, but again, the only time we really saw him, he was dropping in on Muse's little, sewer dungeon down there and then crashing through the window. That's the only time.
I love you hit that guy in the head with bink.
I know. Yeah.
Like that guy probably got really hurt.
Yeah, was that
cut on his eye?
Yeah, wasn't that one of Fisk's task force guys? So yeah,
it's the guy that cornered him in the courtroom. The really bad cop.
Oh yeah. That's the best when Daredevil can do that. Without even of course he's not going to look, but he just like he can like whip it behind him or something, and he's
got that parental sense.
Close your eyes and just try to throw a ball at somebody who's Hawks in the room. See how easy that is.
So we got all that. But yeah, like Lil said,
Luke is gonna get whacked next.
What? He's gonna get whacked?
Well, his whole crew, like they're gonna come looking for him. They're gonna be like, ooh, we had nothing to do with a boss.
I mean, unless Frank comes in the last episode and just like mows down those task force guys or something. because they're up to something really bad or something.
It would be nice to see him pop up again before the next season.
Oh yeah, and they're doing a Punisher like 1 episode special or something.
That's what he says. But it would be nice.
Do you know if it's in pre-production, post-production? What are we talking here?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I just read into it, but it almost sounded like it was going to come before next season of Daredevil.
I was going to say, because if that's the case, it might be the cliffhanger.
Oh, the lead into the Punisher special, yeah.
Yeah, just depending on where it's at in the process. There's a lot of stuff going on at Marvel on the Marvel TV production side right now. They're trying to get everything burned, as far as I'm concerned, and out of the way and focus on movies again. So
all it says so far is it's coming in 2026, but yeah, no official date. Yeah.
We didn't get another Marvel special movie thing like we got. We got that.
Werewolf by Night. Yeah.
What was the other one we got?
Was there another one?
Pretty sure, yeah. It was Werewolf by Night, and then then they showed it to us in color. But it seems like there was another one that we got.
I can't remember. I remember series, but yeah, I don't know if I remember another one shot. Oh.
It seemed like there was another one that, because they thought, oh, these one shots are fun. Well, it wasn't Moon Knight because that was a series.
Yeah.
A mini-series.
Yeah, where's Moon Knight? Let's get some more Moon Knight.
I like Moon Knight.
Yeah. Although with the TV series, I don't know. I mean, it was fine, but I don't know if I liked all. I mean, I get the Khonshu stuff, but I don't know if they went too far that way. I wanted to see a more like street level, almost like Daredevil, a little more.
Yeah, more Moon Knight.
Yeah,
but I thought it was interesting. It held my interest, and
that
was good. No, not She-Hulk. She-Hulk.
That was a series.
I want my dinner with Miss Marvel and her dad.
Oh yeah,
That's what I want the finale to
be. Maybe it'll be like an end credit scene at the end or something.
It's like got a little business plan out and they're mapping it.
Yeah, because I was trying to remember that because her dad was the bank manager. I was like, in any like her show or anything, did they mention her dad was a bank manager or no?
They must have.
I was going to say I couldn't even remember if they had mentioned what his profession was, but
it's funny because
what are you going to do? Be a banker or a garbage man?
They hated that he was there, and some people. I was like, well, that's weird. I just thought that was fun that he showed up. But I want to see this. I want to see Matt go to dinner at his house, though.
Yes.
Like, don't bring that up.
Dinner reservation.
Meet his daughter. Yeah.
And I liked her too. I'd love to see more. That young Captain Marvel. But
all right.
Parker, I'll watch it all.
All right, so only 2 episodes left, and again, Lilith, I think you're going to get way more Daredevil and Kingpin because, well,
I better.
What other villains are left?
I don't know. They don't seem so preoccupied with like having them come together. It feels like.
Well, that's the thing. I don't even know if we're going to get a Kingpin and Daredevil fight in these first 9. I just feel like we're not.
Or like that's where they end the season finale and just leave you hanging until next season.
Not Rhino at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. It'll be a cliffhanger. They both
wasted Paul Giamatti.
Yes.
Because I thought he was good. Well, I sort of liked the other version of the Rhino in Craven.
Oh.
It's like, I kind of like that.
Yeah, Lilith, we still got to watch that.
It's streaming, so now it won't cost you anything to hate it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what we're waiting for.
I didn't hate it. I actually was thought it was fun.
I've heard mixed reviews, so yeah.
I thought it was fun, so I had no expectations. So sometimes that works to a film's advantage. Whereas when it's been so overhyped, and then you watch it like, I didn't think it was good. Let me post that to Facebook as fast as possible.
All right, let's wrap it there. And yes, kids, 2 more episodes left.
Give us your predictions. You might get a no prize.
Daredevil Kingpin fight, Punisher return. What's Bullet gonna do?
Or maybe Iron Fist will show up. You just never. Maybe they gave him his shot and he's back again. Oh. It wouldn't be funny if he was mute. That would have been hilarious.
That might be the cliffhanger is like a Defenders reunion because they were saying I saw some kind of rumor a couple weeks ago. They were saying, something about Daredevil putting together his own vigilante team, the counter the
Kristen Ritter and Mike
the
Coulter.
task force. Yeah.
Well, I would like that.
I swear I saw a couple, and again, you never know it's true, but I swear they were like, "Oh, Kristen Ritter was in New York the same time."
Well, she was, but that was during the original filming before they cut a lot of stuff, and so was Mike Coulter on his break from his other show, from that show he was doing that filmed in New York. So it was like.
But again, if that's your cliffhanger, all you need is a shot of them standing there, really,
Yeah.
All right, so send us your predictions, kids. CapesandLunatics@gmail.com or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And thank you again, Mr. Greg Wright. You want to promote your projects?
Well, I'm still working on the same 2 secret projects, and actually tonight I am working on Escape from Monster Island. I just finished up a page with a nice lava monster on it. So
nice.
So it's fun. It's fun, because Graham keeps posting like every page that he does on his page. I'm like, they're not gonna. What are they gonna get to see? Why were they gonna buy this book? You've shown them all the art.
Mm.
And you've shown them half of the color, and some of it's he does how he does it. And that's how he sells his books. But
he likes what you're doing, I guess.
It is fun to see it in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a fan of stuff myself, I love seeing the black and white artwork, and sometimes the color just ruins it.
We've all been there.
It just does sometimes. You look at some of that Jack Kirby artwork just in black and white. You're like, wow, why does this look so terrible in color? And it's not like anybody did anything wrong in color. It's just that the contrast and stuff that he put into his work just sometimes works better in black and white.
And even like back in the day, I mean, you could speak on this better than us. Like back then, I mean, the color techniques weren't as like refined as they are now, right?
Well, no, because we didn't have computers and an unlimited palette of colors and things we could do. You had flat color, and you had 64 of them, and that was it. Now people like Bernie Wrightson really knew how to use that palette, but he drew his stuff in a way that he could use limited color in a way that made it almost look like little paintings. But you can't just do that on anybody's art. A lot of the art, it was meant to be colored the way it was colored. And, but Steranko was another one of the first guys that really started using color, and just bold, choices. Okay, everything's going to be red on this page, except for this little bit of white over here. And it would work. Somebody else dares to try it. Oh, it didn't work. Why? Well, because you didn't have Jim Steranko artwork. That he planned it that way.
All right. So yes. All right. Let's get out of here. We got 2 more episodes left. Send us your thoughts. Send us your questions. Send us your questions for a Marvel Comics expert here. Send us your predictions. Are we gonna have a truly shocking cliffhanger? We're gonna have to wait like a year to resolve. I mean, I get the logic why they put 5 and 6, episode 5 and 6 together, but I'm surprised they didn't do like an 8 and 9 like doubleheader or something.
No, they need to keep everybody subscribed. But
oh yeah, maybe there's
to get to the next show.
There's a lot of action going. So.
Well, because Andor will start next, so people will.
Exactly.
But I'm always amazed. There's so much stuff that's streaming on all the various things that I never don't. I've always got something that I can watch.
Yeah. You can't keep up with everything.
No, you can't. I mean, it's like they just started the studio. I don't want to see that. We just started watching Silo, and we're still watching Yellowstone, and the White, Reacher ended. The White Lotus has got 1 more episode. Daredevil's got a couple more. What am I going to watch next? Well, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Exactly. All right, kids, come back next time. Remember, it's better to be with the devil you know than the devil you don't.